It's Caulfield time, Melbourne preview. It's Thursday and we've got the Melbourne Pro, Aaron, along with the Everywhere Pro, Gord. And we've got the Sandown Guineas meeting at Caulfield. It was a weekend earlier last year. Maybe that was just how the calendar's fallen, but it's we're still sort of dragging on with a bit of carnival action.
Yeah, a little bit. All the programming has been weird this year, like the 1,000 Guineas stuff. It's all been shifted around, but I don't think we're seeing as many of the sort of carnival leftovers as we've had to sort of deal with over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot more freshies sort of popping up.
Okay. Guys, these days, carnivals never end these days, do they?
Yeah.
They just keep on going. It's been mad.
Yeah, well, carnival originally meant the time where you eat your fill of meat because you're about to start Lent and stop eating meat. But there's meat on every weekend. Okay. The rail goes out 5 meters. We haven't seen that. I haven't seen that position in the last few years. It was out 6 meters Underwood Stakes Day. Is that the reference you're using, Aaron?
It's the most recent of a similar rail position, and that was fairly on pace advantage that day. Pretty handy to be on the inside, but this is rain affected. And
it's not rain affected yet.
It rained pretty hard yesterday. I think the track got about 12 mils, and it's
okay. They're saying good 4.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be a soft 5. Maybe there's a chance it gets to a 6 during the card because there is rain predicted over Friday and non-race day. But on that, I think it was late July. It was a similar rail position, and on pace inside was good early, but then they started to really get away and fan, and you could make ground. So I'm expecting something fairly similar where the inside might chop up, but what they were doing on that card was just pushing 3 lanes out anyway, so it wasn't a disadvantage to be on an inside barrier because they were just shifting out.
Yeah, and I guess the fields aren't that large.
Yeah.
The Norwegians suggest there will be sprinkles right up to race 1. So I guess that's what you're referring to. Gord, what are you saying about this card?
Oh, geez, what do you reckon I'm saying, Mark? 1,800, 1,600, 2,400?
Well, usually the card's supposed to have a 3,200, but I don't know where that's gone.
They've let me off that one, have they?
But, okay, so there is a 2-year-old race to start with, and we have 3 sort of dominating the market here. Voile is $3.50, Media World $3.50, Enisa at $4. And I'm not going to try and map these, but Aaron, have you got any thoughts about how they might shape up?
Yeah, I'd expect Enisa to go forward. Voile showed speed in a jump out under sort of no riding. I don't think Enisa handled the straight at all last start. Sort of looked gone about the 400 and then got balanced late and came again. And that's usually a pretty strong form race for this time of year. And I think the winner might have been pretty smart as well. So I think it's one that's definitely going to handle going around a bend. Voile, I expect it to probably punch up from that inside gate. It looks like it's got ability. I just think it might be a touch short at this current price. I wasn't really impressed with Media World's jump outs at all. I was surprised to see it come up that short. The one I'm backing at this stage is 50 to 1. I think it's been completely missed, and that's handcrafted.
Blinkers on, hey?
Yeah, it's blinkers on from gate 1, and it was coming out of 13 last start in a max capacity field at the Valley. He had to go back, just got stuck, had held up pretty much the entire race. It looked like it was travelling pretty much the entirety. He just gave it a little squeeze about the 200 and extended, and then just sort of eased it up a little bit over the line. He stays here, Williams, and I thought the jump out was super. And yeah, blinkers on, bit of intent from gate 1. I thought it was overs at 50s.
Okay. Gord, we've got a $1.5 million horse here from the Snowdens that matched motors with the Rosehill winner Spywire. And these are obviously cost a bit more than $1 million. And Aaron's Povo horse cost $60,000 in the highway section of the classic sale. It's an interesting setup. What are you thinking about this, Gord?
Yeah, it is interesting because Media World and Voila, obviously they've had jump outs down in Victoria, but they've also had trials in Sydney, which gives us an extra little line. totally agree with Aaron. I was super disappointed with Media World's jump out, but I kind of liked its trial.
Yeah.
Like its Sydney trial, guys. So, but for me, off that jump out, I mean, it was pushed out and not taking a lot of ground off them. So there's no way I can take that shorter price. But, off the Sydney trial, is it a chance? Yeah, but it's not going to be a bet for me. The other one I had a look at was Voila, which I thought there was a bit of style about that trial. Really soft riding. But for me, I want to give a tick to the one that has race experience and I thought was a really good effort, and that is number 4, Anisa. I think that's the bet. I agree with Aaron about the straight maybe not being the best for it. It's definitely going to lead, which is a massive advantage for these young 2-year-olds. Well, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we can't be 100% sure, but most likely. And another thing too with that straight racing, it had to go back onto the inside of the one that was front, and it didn't seem like it really liked it. So for it to just greyhound on the fence, I think it can be even better. And I thought the run last start was still probably good enough to win this race. So I've got Anisa clear favourite over the other two.
Okay.
But I'm Anisa from Voila from Media World, and I think one of those 3 wins, but there's nothing wrong with tipping a 50 cent,
Well, if you expect it's been hidden, which that's Aaron's basically outlining the case as to why it's been hidden, and it is still Mar and Eustace. It's not like a bum stable.
And Williams as well, which is go-to jockey on the program.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into the fodder for the early fodder. Benchmark 70, only 80K. That's a provincial style race. A wash is $5. Montatha 7, Starian 7, Riverina Cyclone 750, Russian Dancer 8, Aria Electra next best at 10. Both Starian and Aria Electra are both down to run at the Valley, so they could disappear here, especially Aria Electra, who's drawn out the outside. I've got Vasmi, who ran 150 to 1 close up last start, seeking the lead. Russian Dancer holding the inside. Unfair Dismissal coming across with Vasmi. What are you saying about the map? What are you saying about the race, Aaron?
I've got very little interest in this race. I'm very happy that it's race 2 because hopefully it gives us a bit of an indication on what the track's doing at the time. We don't have to waste a good quality race trying to figure that out. I've got a wash on top, but with no real confidence. I thought the win last start was pretty good. It was sort of stuck there wide, 59 kilos, and didn't look to really handle the turn at the Valley. It was only really late once it got balanced that it sort of lengthened and was pretty strong late. There's no real confidence here. I thought maybe another one, Russian Dancer, is coming back from barrier 9 to barrier 1, where it was wide last start without cover. It's one that's going to handle the distance well, I think, and those lines are pretty good. I mean, Cadmus is favourite in one of the next couple of races, and it was stuck out there wide and only got beat a couple. Some of the lines prior to that, your far flungs, they're pretty handy for a race like this, but low confidence.
And are you expecting a wash to sort of be a bit soft? Because I see it's Montatha's got a big swing around against it because of the Apprentice rode a wash last start.
Potentially. I mean, it is going up slightly in class, but I think that's a bit fictitious, the benchmark 70, because this is pretty weak. But the map is an interesting one for a wash. So there's a chance a couple of them give it a card across, but there's also every chance that he's just sort of stuck out there. So I've got a mark shorter than the current price, but there's every chance it does get out.
Good. Can you look at this?
Yeah, I looked at it, kicking and screaming and whinging all the way. So there was one sort of like interesting thought you could have, and that was the run of Vasmi last start an indication that they've done something to get it turned on, because before that it had been super disappointing. I thought it did a fair amount of work there, and there's no superstars in this race. I had a look at it, and the other one I had a look at was Starian. A wash is just never a kind of horse I can back. Just, what is it? 7th start, first preparation. I don't have any sensational figures for it either. So, look, super weak race. I did look at 1 and 9, but, I'll be watching on.
Okay. Starian sort of interested me slightly just because she was third up in this race. Race 3 is 2,400, and look who's in the field. Old mate Kabosh, but he's not favourite. We've got Cadmus $5.50, Pesto $6, Fireglow 2.6, Ruling 8.50, Grand Piero 8.50, Kibosh at 9, and Absolute Crawl, Maserati Bay Lone Leader, which makes me think that with the blinkers going back on Kibosh and drawing outside, that it might be persuaded forward. What are you saying about the map and the race, Aaron?
I was super keen on this race when Hurricane was in.
I saw that you mentioned that earlier, and obviously it's come out.
Not nearly as much now. I've got interest in two runners, but as you referenced, the map might be a little bit tricky for them because they're not going to be settling forward of midfield, I'd say. One of those is Fireglow 2, which is on the quick backup, so maybe there is a chance that they try and dig it up. I thought that was a really hit and run last start behind Fujita San. I don't think the strength out of that race is going to be much good, but I did think this one was a hidden sort of missed run. It was held up for a good portion of the race, and it looked like it was travelling into it. It's proven over this trip as well. It's fit. Quick backup's a bit of intent. Cadmus was the other one I've looked at. I think, given that it's already won over this trip overseas, it's clearly going to appreciate getting back to this trip, second prep in Australia, and some of those lines are okay. It's down in the weights. Merton stays on, but it's another pretty low confidence race.
Yeah, okay. 2,400 metres. Can we tease something out of you, Gord?
Yeah, we can. I'm going to bet. It'll be a low confidence bet, but I thought the easy one was number 2, Fireglow 2. And that is, Jesus, why have they taken this long to get it back to 2,400 metres?
I don't know. It's just very honest horse, isn't it? Just like they've just found it. They picked up a good check every time.
Really, really good run last start. Quick backup, back to 2,400 metres, which was its last dominant victory. I know at Geelong, but it completely owned them on that occasion. We finally get back to 24 with that quick backup down at bottom of the weights when you're not up against any superstars. I thought it was an easy play.
All right. Race 4 is the first of the black type races on the day. Graham Begg's Mirabelle Rose is $2.10. Extremely Rowdy, $6. Right to Party, $8. And there's a handful at the $12 and $13 mark. This one looks to be just an averagely run race. Now, Lady of Savoy is the designated leader from the leader's gate, but she isn't at Moonee Valley and she's 50s in this race. That would lead Mirabelle Rose to certainly will follow her or take it up if she's not there. And Electrona with the blinkers on from gate 1 looks to settle handy. Anything else to report here, Aaron, as far as map's concerned?
Not as far as the map, no. I've got Mirabelle Rose leading clearly, and I think it's also clearly the best horse in the race. I was pretty flat that it didn't win last start with sort of the run it had, but it was lane 1 was on fire that day. Sort of the run suggested the step up to 14, given what it did late, was really going to suit. And that was barrier 12, sitting OSL. Now we come into gate 4, no real speed drawn under us. Best horse in the race, third up to 14. I think it's a great profile. I thought the obvious danger was number 1, Extremely Rowdy, which is another horse that's going to appreciate getting up to this trip. Didn't beat much last start, but the style it did it in late was super.
When they clashed, what did you say about that race? Because obviously Extremely Rowdy
owned it. Yeah, but Extremely Rowdy didn't look super comfy in the run. I thought maybe touch short for it that trip.
Yep. Okay, they're getting out to 1,400, so possible switch up. Gord, looks like a favourite you could be interested in.
Yeah, I am interested in backing the horse in this race, and it's not the favourite. By the way, I do think it's a 2-horse race because I think I'm 1 from 3, but particularly at the odds, I was super impressed with that victory of Extremely Rowdy. And when you look at the sectional stuff, there's just a little indication there to me that the extra distance will suit Extremely Rowdy more than Mirabelle Rose. Now, I'm saying this because of the current prices available. So what is it, like even money and $6, $2 and $6, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd have them closer together. And one of those two will win. So pretty easy decisions to make there as far as betting is concerned. You know, I could even say level stake them or whatever, which makes, you know, Extremely Rowdy a good result and Mirabelle Rose, you know, break even or small profit.
These 3-year-old features on Saturday, Aaron, they look a bit thin, bit like let's just rustle up whatever we can find.
Yeah, I think there's too many of them now. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're stretching it thin, Lee, by the sounds of it. The Eclipse is over 1,800. It's race 5, and Ain't No Deal Done promises to appear after 36 days. So when was he scratched? Was it 3 weeks ago? Ain't No Deal Done, $3.50. Just Folk, $3.80. Keats, $6. Let's Roll the Dice, $8. Junior Powell, which seems to have been around forever, $8.50. And good old Keats is here to lead them up. Sir Lucan's back in distance, but promises to poke forward. Danish Fortune and Just Folk may occupy box seat and 1 out, 1 back, unless you've got something different to say about this.
No, that's exactly the map I've got, and I think Ain't No Deal Done probably just tucks in, tracking Just Folk into the race. Just Folk was a pretty good run last start. I thought it was just going to drop away, and it really found late and sort of suggests the step up to the 18 at this stage of the prep is going to suit. I've got Ain't No Deal Done clearly on top. I've been waiting for it to go around. It had a foot abscess, got scratched the day of last start, and went back to the jump out. So the jump out was phenomenal. I think the time between runs dropping back to 1,800 is actually going to suit. And I'm not worried about the track stats being 3 starts for only 1 placing, because one of those runs was first up when it was beaten 3.5. But that was actually the run that we identified the horses really come back. And then it's just been super in probably better than what most of these are coming out of. Probably not a couple up the top, but I think it's a horse that's really going to suit at this stage of the day when they might start to fan and make ground. I think it's a good bet.
Yeah, well, it was like, I guess you're excited to see it lining up. Gord, you got something to say here?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron's had a really good feel for whatever it's called, Ain't Deal Doom or whatever it's
Ain't
called.
No Deal Done. We've seen it. Well,
Ain't
we've
No
seen
Deal
it.
Done. It's about Marbo. It's about the vibe, Your Honour. I want to have something on it. And the other one I want to have on, I know it's gay back in distance, but it's 5 weeks off, is number 2, Sir Lincoln, which will be map positive. And if Keats is a little bit weak, then and something isn't really rattling home, I think he can get the job done. And I'm getting $12 to find out there. But number 3 clearly on top, but I'm going to have something on 2 as well.
Okay, the 1,400 is what have we got? The Kevin Heffernan. That's what it is. Usually 1,300 at Sandown, or it used to be. Are they ever going to run this program at Sandown again? Aaron, this is the second year at Caulfield.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right. So it's just a bit like the Warwick Stakes run at Randwick, hey? Anyway, in this race, we've got Valana, $2.25, 2 weeks since the Rupert Clark. Unusual Culture, $6. The Inferno, $7. King Magnus, $7. Crosshaven, $11. And below average pace here. And Glint of Silver is your only leader. And then it's in at Rose Hill. So how have you got them forming up here?
Yeah, I've got Glint of Silver leading. I thought maybe Crosshaven wasn't suited last start. It just sort of missed a start and flopped out. It was parading phenomenally that day as well. I think there's maybe a chance they might go forward just given the lack of speed in the race, but trying to find speed outside of that is a little bit tricky. I'd say they go forward on Valana, not in the top 2, but certainly forward to midfield. He's clearly got to be marked favourite, but I can't get it as short as $2.15. In saying that, though, I don't think it was really suited in the run last start, and that's clearly the best line that anything's coming through. But I can't quite get to the discrepancy in price between King Magnus and Valana. The race against each other, 2 back for Valana. King Magnus was first up. King Magnus just grows a leg when it gets to Caulfield, and it's not a noted first up runner, and there was half a length between them. I just thought that was a little angle. I thought I'll give Crosshaven another chance. I don't think that worked out for it at all last start, and just given the parade, I think there's still something there. And as I referenced, I think maybe they'll go forward with a lack of tempo, but not a race I'm too keen to get involved in. Unless Valana does drift, then it will become a bet, but not at $2.15.
Well, there's still a question mark over whether he's with us this preparation. Gord, how are you looking at this?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the case. We're starting, spent about half an hour on this race, and my starting position was I'm going to interrogate every other horse other than Valana to see if I can find something to beat Valana, and I didn't find it. So It's not, we're late preparation. It's not a jockey that I'm willing to take really short odds about. And that question mark that Mark suggested just then, which is Valana actually with us? It's not proven yet. Saying that, it probably doesn't have to be completely with us to win this race.
No,
which may,
no.
It's sort of a scary betting race. So even if Valana blew Aaron, I think I'm still going to take the race off. You know what I mean? I think
I might, just because I think it's the length's better with cut out of the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, which is obviously
that's a good point.
That's game that could well come into play on Saturday because I've got it running on a 2.6 at Randwick, a 3.7 at Flemington, and a 3.8 at Caulfield. In fact, it hasn't run on anything worse than a 4.2 since it won that race first up at Randwick last preparation, which was on a nearly heavy track. Aaron, okay, well, just before we get into the Sandown Guineas, would you recap for viewers just what went on at Cranbourne last week in relation to the Melbourne Pro Punter Service?
It went okay. We had a few winners. We had Charterhouse. We had the max bet, Jimmy Star get up. But yeah, we had a nice quaddie. I think it was $140 per unit. And it paid 5,000. I think there was a few people in the channel that had it 4 and 5 times. So that was a nice result.
Oh, so I should have paid more.
Yeah, as long as I didn't put it on the bloody tab.
You ruined your own dividend, mate. Holy hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and then we chucked an Ascot quaddie. That got off. That paid about 7,000. So that was another nice.
It was a bonanza. It was an absolute bonanza. So if you may not be aware, but obviously Aaron posts his assessments, his mounting yard mail, anything else that's relevant, and a set of quaddie selections each week. As in, I've taken these quaddies. So these are my recommended quaddies. And there was a lot of merriment in the Melbourne Pro Punter channel. Now, you can be part of that channel by subscribing to the Melbourne Pro Punter Service and just click on the little eye in the top right-hand corner, or just go to RacingRant where you'll find lots of banners to get onto the Melbourne Pro Punter Service. It's the carnival may be over, but the business of winning goes on week to week. So jump on and find out what it's all about, because it was pretty exciting last week, as it has been many of the weeks since we started 6 months ago.
It's great fun too. Great fun. And by the way, you shouldn't. What's that?
Did you back South Houston yesterday?
Yeah. It was just like a black booker. I didn't even do the form on the race; it just popped up.
Yeah, just saw the name. There you go. Need to back that. Yeah. What else are we going to say, Gord?
Oh, just who cares? Like Saturdays, betting days, or whatever. It doesn't matter whether it's carnivals or not. In fact, I know. I don't know what these people do that sign off after carnivals. Well, we can use the old GP IKEA reference, mate. So, do you want to go to IKEA with the family and buy the Swedish meatballs, or do you want to have a bet? Now, I know which one I'm choosing. So.
Get the Swedish meatballs home delivered. Anyway, right. Race 7 is the Sandown Guineas. Arkansas Kid, $2.40. Modown is $4.50. Power of the Brave down from Sydney, $6.50. Vivier at $7. And map-wise, where has my map gone? I've just thrown it down. We've got average pace with most of the speed out wide. Perevic, I've got showing out from 11. Sarasana outside it, perhaps coming across with it. Power of the Brave has been racing handy. It's forecast to go forward. Prevail down in 2, and perhaps Mauricio just in behind the speed. Where do you see this favourite ending up, and what do you say about the race, Aaron?
Probably got it settling midfield, maybe slightly worse, probably about 2 off. There looks to be plenty of potential speed in the race, drawn out wide, and there's, as that you referenced, that Ruffy Prevailed that's drawn inside. So I think there's a chance there's a bit of speed in this race.
I should point out that Regal Zeus has gone to Geelong today, so I'm not expecting it to be part of it.
Oh, okay. I've got
6 to 4 in the 4:30. It is.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to be against the favourite at the price. A bit like Valana, it's just more about the price for me. It's a really strange prep. 11, 12, 12 grand final, up to 14. Now it's up to the mile for the first time. 5th up into the prep. I'm just going to let that one go around. I think there's a couple of horses that have got real ability. I would prefer it if it was potentially third up or second preparation Modown, but I think that's a horse to follow. I thought that was a really good run behind Schwartz last start. Really flashed late, and I think Schwartz is a pretty handy horse, and it was suited to those sort of on speed when they were running those sort of times that day. It maps really well, I think, to sort of peel and go at this stage of the day. Vivier was the other one, just at the price as well. I think that's a dead set miler. Was crying out for it two back when it was slow to begin behind Curvalant and Flash. That was a huge run, and that was at Caulfield as well. And then it went to the 1,000 Guineas and just sort of had no chance from where it settled and the way the race was run. It's another one that's going to get that nice card in and swoop and peel late. So I thought they were the plays in the race, given that I'm going to be against the favourite if it stays at this current price.
Yeah. What do you make of this, Gord?
Yeah, ditto to the previous race, in which, the obvious one is Arkansas Kid, but, when you get that little bit of an icky feeling like, is it that kind of horse that's runs some really nice placings in against really good quality horses, but then when it drops in grade, which I think this is a considerable drop in grade, it goes around really short and doesn't get the job done. There's certain horses that do that all the time. They really overperform in the high quality races. Saying that, I think it's got so much ability, this horse, man. And yet again, like previous to the first race, where I'm not sure whether I want to take 240, but I'm not sure whether I want to bet against you. Saying that, this is one I think I'm more likely to find a way to back if I assess pattern being if we get coming down the middle being fine, then I'll entertain this horse. Hopefully, if it blows a little bit. The other horse we've mentioned a few times in reviews, haven't we, Aaron? This Vivier or whatever. I think it's got a lot of ability. I liked what it did late. Had none there last start and came home really nice. The sectionals were good. So I'm 1 from 8. Modown, just like a little bit of an afterthought first preparation, getting to your 4th start first prep. That's just like a little bit a negative for me to take such a short price. So
I think this has been the target.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah.
I don't like it when your target is your 4th start and your first preparation.
Yeah, that's why I said
look, I'm sure there would be others that don't see that wisdom. So maybe the trainer. Don't know the trainer very well, Aaron. How does he go? She, sorry.
It's not a go-to, but you certainly don't penalise the horses.
Okay. The feature is the Zipping Classic, and here we have Muramasa, the one of the finds of the spring, $4.20. Deny Knowledge, who's set to try and make all $5. Vow and Declare 6. Duke Decessor 6, and Deny Knowledge looks the leader from 1. Serpentine would go forward, but he's also in at Rose Hill, so I don't know whether he'll start here. Port Phillip and Vow and Declare I've got poking along, but it would appear that she controls pretty easily here, Deny Knowledge. Out to the 2,400 for the first time. She did finish up at 2,200 at Geelong last preparation. So where are we? What's your starting point?
The starting point is probably the easiest bet to find on the day. Number 10, Muramasa. It's a perfect profile, 4th up this trip. You had the box tick last start when there was a bit of a, can it stay that 2,400? It didn't just stay. It travelled unbelievable in the run and just exploded away from them. And they were pretty handy horses. And there were pretty good lines coming in prior to that anyway. But that was so explosive last start. It's going to map perfectly. I've got it potentially finding 1 out, 1 back. And 2 starts at this track. They were both super as well. And I think there's a lot of horses in this that it's real afterthought stuff. And they're coming back in trip, a few of them as well. And potentially maybe Deny Knowledge is one you could look at if it blows, given that it's likely to lead. But it is sort of going up to this trip first time, late prep. But no, very keen, Muramasa.
Does seem quite long. Is that because of the scale? It's going, well, it's running in a weight for age race. Is that, it's under the weight for age scale. So I guess that might be influencing the price. Good. What do you say about this horse, this winning Muramasa?
Yeah, I'm for a 2,400 metre race, I'm really happy to bet, actually. And yet again, another one that doesn't come in well at the weights, and that is number 9, Shock 'em Over. I think this horse has serious ability. You watch that video of that run last start up in Sydney, and it wasn't comfortable at all and had the hide to come home in some of the best late splits on the whole day, and that was over 2,000 metres. Now, that's the run of a horse that I think is going to eat 2,400 metres. I kind of like what it was doing at Caulfield. You know what I mean? We're looking at a horse with 2 starts at the track for 2 wins. It's the lightly raced one that could be going on the up, and that run last start was a lot better than people are going to realise. Really interesting. Craig straight back on it. And I'm getting $14, $15 to find out. I thought number 9 was a super easy bet. Saying that, I've marked Aaron's one favourite, and I'll be definitely having something on it. So I'm 10 from 9. The other one I had a close look at was number 4, Military Mission. Just
flying this preparation, isn't it? Hasn't it? Just had a great preparation.
Mark, we've backed it, and it's lobbed twice at double figure odds for us. We got to love the horse, don't we?
For sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm 10 from 9, but 9 will be a better result, and maybe I muck around on Military Mission.
The mares.
Mark, you got an opinion on that race? I feel like you may have done that race.
No, I've only had a look at it, but Muramasa looked pretty solid to me. Race 9 is the mares race. Used to be 1,500 at Sandown, at 1,600 at Caulfield. Revolutionary Miss off the breakthrough last week is $3. Thalassophile 5, Wollombi 6.50, Lady Jones 11, Kind Gesture 12. And it looks a bit of a crawl. Zenzella to take it up, Lady Jones to hold her alley, and Picaroon and Revolutionary Miss to come across, one of them looking for one out, one back, one of them looking for outside lead. How does that sound, Aaron?
Yeah, very similar. Maybe Thalassophile uses the gate blinkers first time. Maybe I'm just hoping that's the case because it's the one I've got on top. I don't mind Revolutionary Miss, but gee, it's short. As we went through the last start in our review show, I think it's going to look a bit flattered there, beaten margin, winning by 2, because that was a terrible field, and Kazoo pulled up lame, which was the only horse of any ability, and Kazoo still got within a length and a half, and now it's 1 to 10, and pretty sure I've gone through this horse's form, and when it draws outside of gate 5, you've got to go back a long way to find even a place that it's run when it draws out. Thalassophile for me is the one. I like the setup. I like the fact that they put blinkers on, lane goes on. Last start it had absolutely no chance from where it settled in the race. The leader and OSL horse ran first and second, and it probably wasn't even entitled to finish as close as it was from where it was in the run. The run 2 back was really good behind Wishlaw Lass, and I don't think the Valley really suited it, and it's also dropping back to the mile, which I think is more suitable than the 2,000. There was one at, the price has been knocked off a bit now. It was Picaroon. It was about $15. It's coming out of significantly weaker stuff, but just going back to that last start, probably maps to do something fairly similar in the run and knocked off Euphoric, and Euphoric was probably one of the runs of the card last week, running 4th in the Cranbourne Cup. I thought that was super. So as much as it's coming out of weaker stuff, there's some pretty nice lines to be tidying with that one.
Well,
you know all these pretty well.
Yep, I do indeed. Good old Revolutionary Miss. Hey, geez, you cost me my girlfriend. My girlfriend went out on a spending spree. That's what I'll reference this to, because obviously I had a good go at Kazoo and a horse that I backed
God
so
pulled
many
up lame as well.
Yeah. Like a horse that I've always thought Revolutionary Miss had ability, and it disappointed. Well, it won getting PR for all the errands, and then it got absolute PR, and the horse that came second was lame. So there's got to be a slight question mark there. Is the quick backup good for a horse like this? I'm not quite so sure. So for me, yet again, I'm sounding like a broken record in all these races, and that is like you've got the favourites on top, but do you find them as bets? And I'm very cautious on them, and that's not my happy place. Saying that, I did thought there was a really good roughie here, and that's number 6, Picaroon. Now, obviously, Euphoric was way off it and was going 2-1 to it late, but that's kind of been franked. Euphoric it wasn't quite so far off as it was last Saturday as well. So maybe that's another tick for Picarone. I love winners. They keep on winning, particularly mares. And the action, man. So I know it got into a nice spot last start, but when it pulled outside that horses, just the way it let down. And I sort of thought that when the other one, which was Lady Jones, which is in the race, when it sort of started coming home on the inside, it was kind of like Picarone saw it and then had another gear. Yeah. So I thought $13, $14 Picarone was a nice bet. Saying that, I do have number one Revolutionary Miss on top.
Now, the nightcap, which is the 1200 listed race, we have got Gennady off a very good last start, $4.50, Jigsaw $6, Lord Sion at 10 with Showmanship, Lombardo and 11 and so on and so forth. Semyon set to spring out of the gates to try and cross Jigsaw. Maybe Jigsaw holds it out, but they do seem to set up a decent speed. Who gets the right run here, Aaron?
Yeah, I've got Semyon going forward, seeing OSL as well, but I had this feeling they were going to have a crack at doing that last start, and it didn't quite eventuate that way. Jigsaw's going to lead. I'd say Gravine just sits behind it. There's a little bit of speed coming across out wide. There's a chance. I've marked this average to above average tempo, but I'd probably lean towards above average tempo now at this stage. Thought there was a really easy bet in this race as well, and that's Gennady, who was in the worst part of the track last start. That was not a fast lane to be coming home in, and it rattled off unbelievable sectionals. The style it did it late, down in the weights. It's also just got to map beautifully for this part of the day, a sort of peel, and anything with the turn of foot. I think in a race like this, you're going to get past the leaders quite comfortably. And just given that it's a fairly similar horse in that style setup, I'm always going to have something on it. It's double figures and it's Cardigan Queen. I think it does its best work at Caulfield as well. I can't believe they've only tried it on this track twice, because that first run, when it was $31, we're going to have a look at it. It was unbelievably electric. And then that run behind She Dances, beaten 2 lengths. Well, that's pretty similar. You can tie those form lines in with Gennady there as well. So given that it's close to $15, it's one I'll be covering on, but Gennady's a good bet for me.
Well, you've been avoiding the Snowdens most of the day. What do you say about this one?
Yeah, this one's a bet. Just, I've had a fair opinion of this horse's ability for a while now. We are getting very late prep. That's less significant with Snowden. I love that win first up at Kenzo. You bless your little cotton socks. And interesting that line. They've got cotton.
How many white socks has she got, Gord?
You're gonna start doing some poetry for us, are you, Mark? Or what's the go? Where was I here? I'm definitely going to have something on Gennady. The Rose Quartz, obviously, is the common line that lines up a few of these horses. Saying all that, I don't know whether it's going to be as big a result as 2 other horses in the race. I love backing horses like these two, and that is because I know there's going to be massive resistance from the syndicate. So I'm going to be able to get them going for a fair amount of coin, and that is number 4, Showmanship, which the modelers are going to have a gigantic price because it's an 8-year-old coming off 63 weeks. But, the horse has some serious ability. And if I'm going to get well into double figure odds about a horse that's got more ability than the rest, and I just got to take the punt whether it's come back. Saying that, there's a small amount of evidence that it's come back all right because I liked its jump outs. I thought they were decent. So it's sort of like half interesting for me. And then this is one of the best jump outs I've seen in ages, and that's the Japanese horse, Lord Sion, sensational. I'm in love. Anything Japanese, I'm going to go looking for it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't really fit the Japanese profile that I'm looking for. 17 starts for 1 win. But, I mean, maybe Waller's just turned this thing on, because that jump out was sensational. Yet again, we're top weight first up after 29 weeks. There's going to be massive resistance in the market. So I'm 8 from 1 and 4 and really happy to bet into the race.
It did go to the sprint feature at Dubai 18 months ago, didn't it? So.
It changed something. And watch that jump out, man. That's enough to indicate, anyway, we'll see.
Right, so that's an interesting preview of Caulfield. Don't forget that Melbourne Pro Punter is available for subscription. You get assessments, you get yard mail, and you get quaddy selections, and you get lots more. And you should, if you're not a member of RacingRant, well, you surely should be, because you're obviously missing out on a ton more content. The basic membership is pretty much for Sydney, and you get a lot of Sydney content for that small amount. Gord, is there anything you want to sort of underline on the program? It didn't seem like it seemed like a moderate confidence.
I don't know whether I entered into starting to do it, seeing all those distance races. You know what I mean? So my starting position was one of depression.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether I jogged myself out of that psychological state. So.
Anyway, all right. So that's the Caulfield preview. Aaron and Gord do a review for subscribers as well, usually on a Monday of the program just gone. So that's also.
I got to say, Mark, the horses to follow out of that show. A lot of how good when they go back to Wednesday, Aaron. That's what you're looking for. Yes. You got a black vicar off a Saturday and it goes back to Wednesday. Don't think.
Yeah.
And yes, it did seem to have a few aces yesterday. So that's south of Houston, and that is the end of the show. Thanks for watching. Gord will have where are we, Doomben, Gord?
I haven't even started yet, Mark, so that's how behind I am. So.
Yeah, and look, don't forget there's Kensington tomorrow, and there's all manner of stuff. Obviously, Rosehill on Saturday. Glenn, myself and Gord will be around early morning tomorrow for a Rosehill preview, and that should be out to ranters before lunch tomorrow. Anyway, we'll see you again next week, Aaron. Good luck with Caulfield.
Thanks.
See you guys.